was a playoff basketball game. You know, um, game was ugly offensively throughout most of the game. You give the Sixers a lot of credit. We knew that they were going to come out. They were going to be more physical. They were going to try to get in the passing lanes and activate the ball a little bit more. So you give them credit. But I also give our guys credit. We talked about defending without fouling at halftime, and we did a better job. They were on track to get 40 free throws. And, we got to try to do something about it because they're killing us from the free throw line through the series. I know it's only 2 games, but they had 34 and 28 tonight. Let's see if I do my math right. That's 30. That's 62. 62, and we had 17 and 25. So that's 42, right? 42 to 62. So I don't know. We have to do something right. I have to do a better job addressing it. Hopefully, it can get evened out a little bit more throughout the course of the series. But it's tough to win a ball game if you're getting beat from the free throw line like that versus a really good team. So we got to look at every aspect of it. How we're helping on their drives. Everything, but it's a big discrepancy. But again, I give our guys credit because in the second half, they were on track for 40. In the second half, they had 8, and that was a big difference in the ball game. On top of that, Cat only playing 8 or 9 minutes in the first half. That's tough as well to try to combat, especially when Mitch was out. I thought also the offensive rebounds. We were really good in the second half. They had 8 offensive rebounds in the first half. They had 3 in the second half, and we had to keep them off the free throw line. We had to keep them from offensive rebounding in order to get this win, because at the end of the day, it came down to who's going to get more stops in that fourth quarter. And, to hold a team like that to 12 points, and they missed some shots, we know that, but have them only score 12 points in that fourth quarter, it's huge. And, they're a turnover team, and part of that is, we only gave up 2 points off our turnovers in the second half. But if there is one player that I want to make sure that I mention, it's Mikal Bridges. You're not stopping Tyrese Maxey. I mean, Tyrese, he had a great game. He had 26 points. But Mikal tried to make him work, especially in the second half for every point he got. And I think he ended up with 7 in the second half. And, you're going to have to keep working and give multiple efforts, and the team defense behind him is going to have to be great in order to even think you're going to slow him down, because he's a great player. But Mikal did what he could, as well as everybody else behind him. And then on top of that, Mikal hit some big shots for us down the stretch, especially when we looked a little discombobulated offensively. He got to his spot and knocked down some big shots. So great game on both ends of the floor from Mikal.
Mike, OG Anunoby left the game with about 2.5 minutes to go. It seemed like his leg was bothering him. What do you know about that?
I haven't talked to anybody of the same thing. I know he looked like he was hopping, but Derek, have you heard of it? I have not talked to medical yet. Yeah.
Mike, just down the stretch, I think it was tied 99 all, and Jalen, I think, scored 6 of the next 8. Just kind of what you saw him go through tonight, looked like they tried all kinds of things to get it out of his hands. Yeah, so they started switching a little bit, and he got to his spots and scored a bucket, and that's what he's expected to do, for us. And then they started blitzing, and
and then he got it out, and other guys made plays. So they're going to blitz, they're going to switch, and we just have to make sure the floor is spaced correctly and we're able to attack versus either scenario. And I thought our guys did a pretty good job of that.
Mike, the way you guys closed in that fourth quarter, you guys were obviously such a good fourth quarter team in the regular season, but you didn't really have a close win yet, despite blowout wins. Just how encouraging was that, or how much did you like the way you guys closed out down the stretch?
Like I said, it's the shot's not going to always go in, and you got to give Philly's defense some credit. Just like you got to give our defense some credit, but we know we missed some shots that we normally make, and they missed some shots that they normally make. So, it's about trying to figure out a way to get a stop. That's what you can control more than the ball going in. And I thought our guys did a decent job of that as we were going down the stretch without fouling.
Mike, I assume you would have played OG down the stretch if he was available. So, I mean, what did they tell you in terms of what he was going through or anything like that at that time during the game? Like that he wasn't available?
When he was on the floor?
No, when he left.
Yeah, I haven't. Like I said, they haven't told me. I just know he left the game, and so I was like deuce, and I mean I turned to look. He wasn't back. Nobody said he was back, and so I have not talked to anybody yet. But he wasn't. I don't think did he even come back on the bench? Yeah. So I don't know.
You don't know if they'll go through testing or anything like that.
I don't know anything.
Okay.
But make him go find out.
Mike, in terms of the fouls, it's been now two straight games where they appear to make a concerted effort to try to get your centers in foul trouble. Is there anything you want to see from your team in terms of maybe more discipline on that end, or do you think some of it is that's just a byproduct of how physical the game is going to be played?
Yeah, we could do a better job, but I think it was Cat's third or fourth foul when Maxey came off him. I'm not sure what's a bump and what's not a bump, but up by half court, I got to go back and I got to watch that because you can literally call somebody getting bumped every time down the floor if you want to, and so for Cat to pick up his third or fourth foul that way. I can't remember which one it was. That was tough, but we have to try to keep leading with our chests and show our hands and hope they don't call it. I mean, they're really really good, especially Maxey. I mean, he's one of the quickest guys in the league with the basketball, and when he sees an angle, he's going at you 100 miles an hour, and he's good as you're trying to turn. And when you're turning to start a step slide with him, you're exposing your shoulder and your arm. And as soon as he sees you turn and he feels and he sees your arm right here, he's flying into you, and it's giving the officials an opportunity to call a foul. So we have to try to do our work a little bit better or a little bit earlier, and again just keep our chest in front of the ball and hope that we don't turn or anything like that when he jumps in there and they don't call the foul.
Right. Cat, obviously, he's struggled with foul trouble for years now. You've had a season with him. How delicate is that balance with him in terms of his aggression? Because it can be something like that, and then the third quarter on the opposite end, the way he was attacking, and just I guess how have you talked to him with that, and then I guess what did you like, what you saw, how he responded in the second half coming out of foul trouble?
Yeah, he's an important player for us. There's no secret, and we need him on the floor. So he just has to avoid getting the unnecessary fouls. And he's been great. Like he hasn't picked up an offensive foul, knock on wood, in a while, and so he's got to keep making sure he doesn't do that. And and then anything where he's trying to steal the basketball or whack down on the ball, where he's initiating contact with his hands, he's got to try to stay away from that. And throughout the course of the game, the officials are going to call what they call, and we have no control over that. But we just, if you lead with your chest and you show your hands, not just Cat but all of us, then we'll have a better chance of not picking up fouls, because we can't afford to have anybody in foul trouble.
Mike, defensively, as you mentioned, you guys threw kind of the kitchen sink at Maxie McHale early, some Josh, and then you guys blitzed him. It felt like he was willing to accept the double team and kick it out to teammates, you guys allowing to live with whatever that result is. How'd you like how your team handled guarding him, specifically in that fourth quarter, in terms of just the attention to detail, rotating, and things of that nature?
It was okay. It was one of those things, again, he had 19 in the first half, and if you give a great player the same dose of coverage the whole game, he's going to tear you apart. And so, we did. We went to some blitzing, the double teaming him, and then we took it off. Then we put it back on, and you have to do that. And when you do blitz or when you do double team, you have to be okay saying, okay, you know what? If other guys make shots like some of the other guys were tonight and you lose, then hey, you pat them on their back and you tell them good game and you go to the next one. So it's hard, and that's what makes them great is, everybody, they know exactly what we're running. They know what's coming, and we know what's coming when they're coming on offense. It's about having great players that can command two players defensively, and you making the game easier for your teammates. And, you give Max credit. That's what he tried to do tonight.